Groundless and inconsistent. The reaction from China to European Union claims of it coercing Lithuania. The EU says China's blockade of Lithuania over its stance on Taiwan threatens the foundations of the European single market. It's taken its case to the World Trade Organization. Beijing says that the issue is political. It started after Lithuania allowed Taiwan to open a diplomatic outpost in its capital.
中立之间的问题是中立双边问题，不是中欧之间的问题。我们敦促立陶宛立即纠正错误，不要甘当台独分裂势力和反华势力的棋子。立陶宛应该回到坚持一个中国原则的正确轨道上来。
Beijing has blocked most trade with Lithuania, which the EU says is discriminatory and harming exporters in the bloc. The EU has requested World Trade Organization dispute settlement consultations with China, following repeated failed attempts to resolve the issue bilaterally. The European Commission says that it's built up evidence of Chinese restrictions against Lithuania, including the refusal to clear the Baltic states' goods through customs. Rosie Burchard joins us live now from Brussels for more. Rosie, the EU says that it has ample evidence of trade violations by China over Lithuania, but why does it say that the integrity of the entire Eurozone single market is under threat?
Well, Don, this is really quite the case. We see tiny Lithuania, not even a big country by European Union standards, a population of less than 3 million, really apparently squaring up to Beijing. Now, we know, for example, that Lithuania has been complaining about this for a few months. For example, that its goods are being rejected at Chinese customs, and EU countries seem to be cautiously concerned, but where their ears really appear to have pricked up is regarding this evidence the European Commission says it has that China is pressuring EU companies from other member states to cut Lithuanian inputs from their supply chains. And of course, this would really put EU businesses in a bind if they risk losing business with China. Now, the European Commission's trade boss, Valdis Dombrovskis, spoke to press just a few hours ago. He really wanted to highlight that the European Union values its relationship with China, that it wants to deepen that relationship. But he was also pretty critical when it comes to what it calls China's discriminatory restrictive measures towards Lithuania. So let's take a listen now to what he had to say.
Let me be clear. These measures are a threat to the integrity of the EU single market. They affect the intra-EU trade and EU supply chains, and they have a negative effect on EU industry. This is why we are stepping forward to defend EU's rights.
Rosie, the EU feels it has a legal basis for this, but World Trade Organization arbitration, it may be slow-moving, it may take years to conclude. What are the next steps that we can expect?
Well, you're quite right when it comes to the WTO. We have a lot of fast-moving stories here in Brussels. WTO arbitration is certainly not among them. So we know that, first of all, the EU does want to pursue a diplomatic solution or a solution round the table. And of course, those first round of consultations, the WTO, are explicitly aimed at really allowing countries to settle these disputes. But beyond this, the European Union finds it a problem that these WTO arbitrations are so slow moving. And that's precisely why a couple of months ago they came up with a new instrument. They call it an anti-coercion instrument. So that would effectively allow them to try and hit back with countermeasures if they feel that a country outside the EU is trying to achieve policy goals by putting pressure on EU businesses. Now, this is still within the legislative draft, so it's not currently up and running. What they want to do here, officials here in Brussels, is to try and really get this up and running by the end of the year so they can have more muscle here. We know, for example, when it comes to foreign policy, the EU does sometimes have issues. They have to sit round a table and agree unanimously on sanctions. Now, this new coercion instrument would actually bypass that and allow the Commission to act directly. So that's something they certainly hope they'll be able to do in future so that they can work within the WTO, but also in parallel take their own measures.
Rosie,
now,
thank you for that.
I think
Rosie.
One other thing to mention is, of course, that the European Union... No.
Rosie, thank you for that. Rosie Burchard in Brussels.